Pick Up the Pace is a rugby union podcast hosted by All Blacks super fan and Anadu Ryle, two passionate rugby fanatics from Wainuiomata, New Zealand, who go deep into everything rugby without taking themselves too seriously.
Welcome back to Pick Up the Pace podcast. You with your man, All Black superfan and
Anadu Ryle, and today we have a very distinguished guest. He grew up in Mosgiel, went to school at Outram Primary School, Taieri College, and then moved to Christchurch at the age of 15 and attended Christchurch Boys High School.
He went on to be a policeman and play for the Maris Rugby Club in Christchurch and represented Canterbury. He made a name for himself as coach. He coached the Canterbury side that won 2 NPC titles in the Ranfurly Shield. Assistant coach of the Crusaders side that won 2 titles. Head coach of Wales and assistant coach and the head coach of the All Blacks.
During his 15 years in the All Blacks coaching setup, he won 2 World Cups, 11 Rugby Championships, 16 Bledisloe Cups, 3 Grand Slams, 1 Lion Series win and 1 Shared Lion Series, 4 World Rugby Coach of the Year awards, 10 World Rugby Team of the Year awards, winners of the prestigious Laureus Team of the Year award, and awarded a knighthood for services to rugby. As All Blacks head coach, he had a 88.79 winning percentage, which is the best record in history of any Test rugby coach in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our absolute honour to introduce to you to Steve Hansen.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Good, thanks, buddy. Good.
Hey, the last time we spoke was over in Japan, actually, for the World Cup. So we met at the captain's run, and we still thank you to this day for allowing us to experience that. That was before the Springboks test. So it's good to have a chat with you again.
No worries, boys. We probably should have got you to a few more. Whatever happened that day worked.
Hey, Steve, your record obviously speaks for itself, but we just want to go back to where it all started. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and what it was like growing up on the family dairy farm in Mosgiel?
Oh, yeah, we had a great life down there. Mum and Dad were, really supportive parents. Instilled a work ethic in us, and farming life is one of the best lives you can have. You get out and do what you want to do, and we just have to milk the cows twice a day and fill in the gaps in between. So that was a tremendous life. I had some great mates down there, and it's pretty sheltered because there's only myself and the sister early on. There's a bit of an age gap between myself and my 2 younger brothers, but you're bucked in, and you learn about community, you learn about helping each other, and it's ironic in the times we're in at the moment.
Hey, so you attended Taieri College in Mosgiel and then Christchurch Boys High School. How did your time at these schools shape you as a person?
Academically, they didn't shape me too well because I didn't take the opportunity. I was more there to eat my play lunch and play sport, but if I had a regret, that's probably one. I didn't take the opportunity that school gives you, but Taieri High and Boys High are 2 different environments. Taieri High at the time I was there was, you had to stand up for yourself, and it was a co-ed school, and it made a difference to a single sex. So then, not as much tradition, and the standards at that time probably not as high as they were at Boys High, and you can walk around with your socks down and you're tied up straight. But when I got to Boys High, things changed a bit, and so both schools I thought gave me skills that were usable later in life. How to deal with people. Both gave me great opportunities playing sport, so I was very lucky.
So Christchurch Boys, were you a boarder or were you a day boy?
No, I was a day boy. Yeah, after I ride a bike from King George pub to Mum and Dad bought a pub in the middle of town called the King George.
Oh yeah.
Which was a real eye opener, and different again. A great learning environment living in a hotel back in those days. The public bar was king, and you used to get all sorts of characters.
Hey Steve, you played for the Christchurch Boys High School first 15 in the late 70s and captained the team from centre. Who were some of the players you played with and against during your school years?
Well, the guys we played with, we had a very good number 8 back then, a guy called Jim Borthwick. We had my first year captain was Mark Wheeler, so he and his wife, living in Nelson, and Joe Wheeler's parents, Joe. Richard Leggett, halfback, very good halfback. Phil Gibson became my brother-in-law. Midfielder, we played a lot of games of rugby together through Marist and Canterbury B days, and Mark McIntosh was on one wing. He ended up playing, I think, some games for Canterbury, and we moved over to the West Coast, might have played some over there. So some good footballers there. Adrian Kennedy played for Canterbury. Robbie McIntosh played for Canterbury. So as I said, some good footballers. And the opposition, probably the Boys High Christ College clash is the game, and at that time, College had a really good side. Jock Hobbs was, in my first year, he was playing centre. Second year, he played on the flank. Robbie and Bruce Deans. Vaughan Brown played cricket for New Zealand. He was in the positions, and Joe Leota was another one. So, with some good footy players coming out of both schools.
So, like, when you finished up at school, you played for the Marist Club in Christchurch, and you represented Canterbury from 1980 to 87. You had a brief stint playing rugby, club rugby in France. Were there any moments that really stood out during your playing career? Your first game for your province, that was pretty special. Playing against Hawke's Bay and got called in. Gerald Wilson, I think, was the coach. But no, look, I just enjoyed rugby for what it was, and it was a great opportunity to grow as a person and have time with your mates and have a few beers and a lot of laughs. And there wasn't as many opportunities as there are today. Like, the squads were only 21, so if you're the 22nd guy, you either went down and played for the B team or didn't play at all. So it taught you a lot about working as a group. And in my case, I was a lot of the times a 22nd guy, so I had to go down and play for the Bs. And out of that, I learned tools that I could take into coaching and how to treat people when they weren't being selected. And I was very fortunate through that time. I had some great coaches: Alex Wiley, Andy Holland, Gordon Hunter, my father. And each and every one of those guys taught us something. It was, you learn something off the good ones and the bad ones, in fact, and what not to do and what to do. France was great. Back in the days when it wasn't meant to be professional, we used to line up at the club and get a wee brown paper bag and put some money in it, and that was a highlight as well. Oh, geez, I would have liked to be in those days. Brown paper bag with money in it. Sounds good.
Well, it was good, because you had to really front up and play for a club called La Rochelle. Still got some lifelong friends there, so really the main reason I went into coaching was because I thought I owed the game something. And it had been so good to me, so I was lucky I did.
Hey, you brought up your father, Des. Now, he coached you when you played for Marist. I believe you won a championship together as well. So Des was considered as one of the top rugby coaches down there and was well respected. How much of an influence was he on you, and what were some of those key coaching tips that you learned from him?
Oh, there's a massive influence. Like, we're a rugby family. He played footy himself, and when he retired, Mum cried, not because of happiness, but because of sadness. She didn't want him to stop playing, so she was rugby mad as well. And we talked a lot about footy around the table, and through those conversations, pick a lot up. And he would challenge both myself and my two brothers, Kelly and Daryl, and Phil, for that matter, when he started sitting around the table to think about why things were done rather than just doing them, and when will they work and when won't they work, and how can you manipulate the opposition to make them work. He always had a saying that the opposition will always give you the option, so getting to understand how they're defending, how they're attacking, rather than just going out and being out there for 80 minutes and not thinking.
Apparently Des had a secret weapon. Was the drift defence? Is any truth to that?
Yeah, he did. He was one of the instigators of that. Him and a guy called Jack McLaughlin, who was his best mate. He coached Green Island down in Dunedin, and Dad coached Mara. So they both introduced that into rugby, and it was very successful. Obviously, it's changed a bit now, but at that time it was a key thing in the game, and allowed sides to shut down opposition.
You worked at the local freezing works, and you had a variety of jobs, including running a bar before joining the police at the age of 30. What were some of the helpful skills that you learned from those working experiences that you eventually implemented into your coaching roles?
The biggest learning curve through all the jobs I had was that, just treat people the way you want as you find it, and don't prejudge them, and you can learn something of everybody. I was, again, going back to King George, I was very lucky. Met an old guy there, and he was a guy that used to get drunk, and probably an alcoholic. Well, definitely was. And but I sort of was a bit dismissive of him, and early on, and then Dad sort of gave me a bit of a tune up and said, well, actually go and have a listen to what he's got to say, and you might actually find he can teach you something. And I did. I went in early one day and came downstairs and found him, and he hadn't had too many under the belt at that point. And we had a great conversation about rugby, and I really enjoyed it, and walked away thinking, wow, here I have been thinking that he's just an old drunk, but he was actually quite a special person, and life hadn't been great to him, but he'd had some great moments in that life, and through many conversations after that, I learned a lot from him about the game. And I think there's lots of people like that in life, isn't there? You prejudge them because of the colour of their skin, or your tattoos, or how they dress, or what nationality they are. I think it's wrong in so many ways, but maybe with what we're going through at the moment, it'll teach us to just be a little bit more caring and a little bit less judgmental.
Hey, while working for the police, we understand you played and coached the police and the combined services teams, and you also coached the women's police basketball team and the rugby team as well. What was this your first coaching experience during this time?
No, I'd coached Canterbury had asked me when I was playing to coach under 20s, under 21s, I think they were at the time, and I had that job with a guy, Jed Williams, and I'd only accepted it under the proviso that if I got called up to play for Canterbury B or Canterbury, they'd release me, and I still had mad desires to play for Canterbury back then, and but they ended up getting called up, and after doing a couple of weeks' work with the team, and so that was the first opportunity. I think that team benefited anyway, because they ended up getting Dad to replace me, so he got being a coach. So, but my club team I coached was old boys, high school old boys, Marish, and their wisdom wanted to didn't want me to coach there, so I think they thought it was too much having played for so long, and then going into coach. So old boys offered me an opportunity with a guy called Devil Duck Henson. It was an awesome time to go there. They had very young players like Andrew McCormick, Darryl Gibson, Reuben Thorne, just to name a few. Justin Marshall ended up coming there. Graham Bashett was there for a while. And, we had a wonderful time learning together and making mistakes together, but also having a really good club environment to enjoy footy. And from there, police, I was in the police also. I got the opportunity to coach them, and I came in contact with a guy called Gordon Hunter when I was in the police force, and hadn't how it works in services rugby. We go up and go to the trials, play in the trials, get selected, then go and play in the tournament. You play the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, and then they pick a services team. And I hadn't done a day's work in the force. I graduated, gone home for about 2 or 3 days, then went back up and played in the trials and got in, and managed to get in the combined services team. And it's my first experience getting Gordy, and he walked into before the team was named, into the hall with me and goes, "I'd like you to be the captain of the team." And I'd never met him before, and I thought, Mr. Hunter, I don't feel comfortable about that. He didn't even put my uniform on. And he turned around and looked at me and he said, "Listen, lad, we're playing rugby, we're not locking up criminals, so you're the captain." And, he taught me the art of caring and humour, making people feel valued, and he was brilliant at it. And using the humour along the way was great.
So after 8 years as a cop, you then found work with the Canterbury Rugby Football Union in the mid-90s, taking up head coach role for Canterbury from 96 to 2001, winning 2 titles. You were also assistant coach at the Crusaders to Wayne Smith and Robbie Deans, winning 2 titles. So what were the secrets to the winning culture that you had helped build in Canterbury during this successful period?
I think the key ingredient was it's about the team. It's not about the individual. If the team did well, then we all would do well, and it was about ownership. Everybody had to own their own little space and own the team and do what was right, and be prepared to work together. We couldn't win it just with 15 guys. We had to win it with the squads, and just slowly it fed itself really. And when you've got great role models like we had, and Toddy Blackadder and those sorts of guys, it's easy for young guys to come in and do things well. I was lucky enough. My first job actually was to run the academy. I'd been away with the Canterbury Tens team unofficially, and because I'd been unofficial, when I'd been told not to go by the Canterbury Rugby Union, I got called in front of Steve Chu, and he was sort of giving me a bit of a rundown in his office there, and he'd gone for about 3 or 4 minutes, and I said, "Look, Steve, you've got bigger problems than worrying about me going over to Brisbane." And we ended up having a great yarn for about 3 hours, and I wouldn't be able to be with the job to set up an academy, and that was one of the highlights. I think if I look back on my career, it's one of the highlights of my time in rugby. We were very, it was a great time with some young kids who were really keen, and all had one criteria: they had to be good enough to play for Canterbury within the 3-year period that they were in the academy, and at some point come out and play for them, and a lot of them did and became really good players. So there's an opportunity to build the talent within rather than trying to pay big money and bring players down there.
After Graham Henry parted ways with the Welsh Rugby Union, you became the new Wales coach. This was your first gig as a Test rugby coach, and while you were coach of Wales from 2002 to 2004, you had a record of 10 wins from 29 matches, losing 11 matches in a row at one point. Coming from a winning culture in Canterbury, why was it so difficult to build a similar winning culture with Wales?
It was interesting because when we came there, the Welsh rugby the fans had high expectations, but I think if you look at what was happening in Welsh rugby at the time, there was a lot of people were looking solely, what's in this for me, and it took a wee while for us to change that around. I think there was a lot of jealousy, a lot of tribalism, which are both enemies to producing rugby teams that are about the team first and individual second. And we finally got there, but it did take some time. And I do hold the record for the most losses in a row in a Test match in Test rugby, and equal holder with Eddie Jones as the one to win the most. So just goes to show you, it's got nothing to do with whether you're a good coach or not. But one of the things I did find when I was in Wales was the fact that the team environment we had the whole time I was there, even when we were losing, was probably one of the best team environments I've ever been associated with. The guys themselves really wanted to work hard and change, but they were coming from a pretty ordinary base. We had to make some tough decisions, and some players dropped out because they needed to, and others dropped out because they thought they needed to, because it got too tough for them. But the guys that were there right through that period were wonderful, wonderful ambassadors for Welsh rugby, and went on to be very, very good rugby players. And the year after we left, they won the Six Nations, and they've just continued to be, the rugby nation that they were capable of being. And when you've got a group of men, young men, and the role models are split, so you've got role models who are diverse to the environment, and role models who are, great examples of what the environment should be. Young players have got a choice, and that was the thing we had to change. We just had to change that. But we had a massive club environment that needed to change. There was too many professional players for the number of players that were playing. Dave Mossop was the CEO over there at the time, and he was great. He worked hard at getting a similar franchise model in place, which is still in place now. But they couldn't work out how many teams to have. They should have really only had 4 or 3, and it wouldn't have happened unless they had 5, because it was self-interest. So when you say why was it so hard, the one word I'd use would be self-interest.
So skipping up to 2004, Steve, new All Blacks coach Graham Henry appointed you and your old mate Wayne Smith as assistant coaches. So after being knocked out of the 2003 Rugby World Cup, what changes needed to be made to the team and the wider group?
I think we realised in 2004 that we had a culture that was more about the individual than the team. And because of that, decisions were made by individuals that weren't reflecting how we wanted the All Blacks to be seen. So slowly but surely, we changed that. We had a group of players who were fantastic rugby players, but they were also coming out of the amateur era, going into what was really the professional era, and drinking culture wasn't right. We had a massive drinking session in South Africa that was really the tipping point. And from that, we decided, right, well, we have to change things, and we brought in a leadership group who had to take control of not only what we agreed upon as a group, a leadership group and management group, but they had to drive it within the team, and it was the start of turning it round.
So that leadership group, did everyone come together and brainstorm? Did that start in 2004? 2004
it started, and back in the day there was Brian Hall was the 4th member of the management team on the selection side of things, and he was awesome. Obviously, everyone knows about Smithy and Ted, both great coaches in their own right, and we all knew what we wanted, and we knew that the players had to take a bigger responsibility if we wanted the team to go where we wanted it to go. So we went through a series of processes to form a leadership group, and probably made some mistakes along the way, but learned all along that way as well. So, we've got a really defined model that started way back in 2004, running at the moment. It's been good. Gil Renoka plays a big part in it.
Just moving on now to 2007. So that 2007 Rugby World Cup quarter-final loss to France was obviously a heartbreaker for all involved. But what did you learn from that experience moving forward?
hopefully plenty, because otherwise it is a heartbreaker. But I think, sport is such a learner, such a teacher, if you're allowed to be. And 207, I think we were the best side in the world, no doubt about that. Had been for a little while, but I think we went there believing that it was our right to win it. And to win World Cups, you have to be hungry, you have to be desperate, you have to be in a mindset that it's not going to be given to you, you've got to go and take it. And, we saw when France lined up, they came to take the game. And we weren't expecting that. We thought, we'd beaten France, I think twice or maybe 3 times that year. A couple of the games were by pretty big margins. And I think we got complacent. We tried some new things, like we'd done the conditioning window, and a lot of people said, that was the reason we failed. I don't believe it was. I think the conditioning window is important. Maybe we've seen it adjusted now and operating a bit better, but at the time, that was the beginning of getting player welfare sorted. And maybe the mistake that we did make was once we picked the team, we didn't stay with it. We kept changing it. And, I understand why we did that, because at the time we wanted to grow depth, and we did. We've grown the depth. The thing I learned was, okay, once we get there, let's pick the team we need to play and let them play and get their combinations going. Mentally, we weren't strong enough to cope with the unexpected, and we learned that lesson, particularly shown in 11 when we lost 3 first 5/8, and we coped with it mentally really, really well. I thought Ted was great driving that. And then when DC went down, we came into the season and said, look, we've had one of the things that we said might happen. Lose one of our top players, and DC's out, and Slater was next. He said, Slater, we don't need you to be DC, we just need you to be the best version of yourself, and the rest of us be the best versions of ourselves, and we'll be okay. And there was a visible sigh of relief in the group. And whilst we were sad for DC, we all knew that we just had to get on with it. And so that was a great lesson. And then, of course, the final itself, we'd beaten France in the round robin. Things didn't go so well for us in the final, and that we missed a few opportunities. As all hometown boys, Pilgrim, he had been the goal kicker and he'd been on great form, but he tweaked his groin just before the start of the game, and didn't kick as well as he had been, and we missed a couple of opportunities. And the longer they stayed in the game, the more confident they got. But we just stayed true to the processes and got the game done. So we did a few things with regard to inside the tournament that we changed. We realised they weren't right, and when we went to England in 15, we were better at being on the road, and better at working out what we needed to do while we were away from home for such a long time. So they were all things we learned, and hopefully they'll continue to learn things. We'll learn stuff out of this last one. The hardest thing in sport is to back up a great performance. And if you look at this year's World Cup or last year's World Cup, 3 teams lost the game and they finished first, second, and third. And unfortunately, we lost to England, who played really well, but England couldn't back it up against South Africa. South Africa lost the game in the round robin, and then had time to take a breath and recover from it, and went all the way through and were deserved champions. So.
But just going back to 2011 and all the adversity that you went through with DC and the number 10s and the pivotal role those players play, 24-year drought with the All Blacks, winning the World Cup, the whole country were glued to their screens, their fingers were crossed, the palms were sweaty, mate. It was all on. The pressure was immense, and like we had to have it, we had to win it. There was no other scenario. How did that felt when that final whistle went?
It was a relief, really. We all had different stories, and from 07, like my mother had a major heart attack and caused through lung cancer in 07, and I'd flown home and then come back, and she'd sent me back to win the thing, and obviously we didn't, and she passed away the following January. So sitting there saying, well, yeah, okay, no, we've got the job done now, and that the nation was desperate for us to win, and we were desperate. So yeah, it was a sense of relief versus like in 15, it was far more enjoyable because you didn't have that pressure of not having won it for 20 years. You still had plenty of pressure, I might add, but it wasn't a relief, it was just a joy.
In 2012, you stepped in to replace Graham Henry as the head coach of the All Blacks. And the scrum doctor, Mike Cron, says your father Des taught him that 80% of coaching is in selection, that once players get over the white line, your job is finished. Your first All Blacks team included the likes of Beauden Barrett, Aaron Smith, Brodie Retallick and Sam Cane, who have now played 314 tests between them. So the question is, how important was it to develop and trust new leaders in your team when you took over?
Oh, it's hugely important, and we'd planned for that. When we were going from and the build up to the World Cup, even though I wasn't the head coach, I'd already started thinking about some of the things that we needed to do in the future, and getting our leadership right was going to be important. We were very fortunate that the likes of Richie and Kevy and DC and Woody and just mentioned Conrad and Ma weren't going to retire after 12. So we had a really strong leadership base, but it was about, right, who's going to come in and replace them? And how long are those guys going to last? So that's why we saw people like Sam Cane brought very early in his career into the leadership group, because we wanted to have that ability to, if Richie was to retire before the World Cup, to have someone that knew how to lead the group. He wasn't a novice in leadership terms, and wasn't a novice in test matches. So he got to play, I think, 34 tests before he became really the number one seven. And the same thing with Artie. If you look at Artie's career, we tried to build him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not part of the leadership group under fives. If you want to do the same thing, he's such a big influence in the group.
So in 2013, the All Blacks become the very first international team since rugby went professional to go a whole season undefeated. What made that 2013 team so successful?
Self-belief. I think we got a lot of belief in 12. We set out not to be a team that was rebuilding. You hear so many teams talk about, we're rebuilding. We chose to use the term re-establish ourselves. And in 12 we did that, and I think it rocked the rest of the rugby nations, because they thought this was their opportunity to hurt us as a team, as an All Black team. And when that didn't happen, I think they lost a bit of confidence, and we gained a lot of confidence. And 13 was a reflection of that. We played well. We had great mental belief in who we were and what we were about, and what we had to do, and to get through undefeated, we had to show a lot of that in various games, and no more so than the last one.
Māori and Pacific players have been a part of your senior leadership team throughout the years. Why was it important for you to have Māori and Pacific players included in the leadership group?
Well, they're such a big part of our society, and therefore they'll be a big part of any All Black team that gets selected, because they're very good rugby players, so every rugby team has Māori and Pacific players in it. So why wouldn't you have them in the group? And ever since I've been in charge, I've always taken the attitude that we're one team, we're one person, but we're a group of people who are individually different, and we treat everybody the same. But then everyone gets treated a little different at the same time. Probably doesn't make sense what I'm saying, but it's how we used to look at it. The rules were the same for me as they were for the guy who had been there for one game. And we're not saying that we didn't, or the expectations as opposed to rules, but we're not saying that the expectations weren't always lived up to, because sometimes they weren't. But you were expected to do. It wasn't about the colour of your skin or your culture, or it was about the All Black culture. And then we fed that All Black culture with the different ethnic groups that we had in it, Palangi, Pacifica, and Māori. And each one of those cultures were really, really important in creating an All Black one.
Hey, it's on record, Steve, that in 2015 there wouldn't have been an All Blacks test in Samoa without you. Ken Laban was quoted in an article saying that the defining point in the decision to approve the game was when you spoke to senior Samoan players in the team, Jerome Kaino, Kevin Malamu, and Ma'anonu. How special was it to have the All Blacks finally play in Samoa?
Yeah, look, I think Ken's probably being a little bit generous, but anyway, look, it was a special occasion, no doubt about that. And to see the joy that having the team there, the joy in the faces of the people from Samoa, but not only them, also the Samoan boys in the team, seeing how proud they were that they could bring their All Black team to play against their ancestors and their family. It was one of the real highlights of my coaching time, I think.
Te Kepa week you described as perfect. You received an honorary chief title at a moving ceremony at the Vaiala village in Apia. Can you please talk us through the experience and the meaning behind your chief matai title to Pui o Vau?
Yeah, well, it was all very much a gee whiz moment, because I probably didn't have enough of an understanding at that time how great an honour it was, and I knew it was special, but I probably didn't realise just how special. And the whole ceremony itself was pretty amazing. I was luckily guided through it and didn't make too much of a fool of myself. But it's something I look upon with great honour, and hopefully I'm respecting it the way it should be.
So in the lead up to the Tongan test last year, you said this at a press conference: we want rugby to grow. We have to have a strong Pacific. What needs to be done to better support our Pacific Island brothers and sisters over in the island?
Well, first we've got to acknowledge that we, and when I say we, I'm not just talking about New Zealand rugby, I'm talking about world rugby. We have to acknowledge for ourselves that we're part of the solution and should be part of the problem. We've got too many of our Pacifica players up in the north who are being bullied into not playing for their international teams. They're being told if they do, then they won't get these payments or that payment, and financially it's really tough for them to be able to go and play, and yet they're going around the back door in some of these payments, making it their allowance, their housing allowances, and saying they'll withdraw them. And so there's one thing we can do straight away. We can knock that on the head and say, righto, well, we'll bring these guys up here. We'll make them play for, our clubs up here, but we'll also make them available to play international rugby, because we need international rugby to be strong. Because if it's strong, then the game's strong right down to the core. That's one thing. I think better administration within the Pacifica unions themselves. It might be a bit controversial, but I think if we look at the facts, There's been grumblings all along the way there. Better spending of the money. I think sometimes World Rugby have looked at it and said, look, we need to give them money, but they're giving them the cash but not giving it to them in a way that's probably getting the right return for it. So they're just some of the thoughts I have. Like when you look at here at home, there's a lot of Pacifica players that are getting a grounding here, and I think we could, outside of the All Blacks, there was New Zealand-born Pacifica players made up, the next largest number of players from New Zealand. So I think it's something around about 21 of them, in all the teams. So it's a lot of players. So and look, it would be great to be able to play more games, but our calendar makes that really, really difficult. The need to make money out of the games is even going to be stronger now because of what we're going through. No Super Rugby, no Test Rugby likely this year, and for a large part of this year. So I guess it's going to be a different world we wake up to once sport starts again. But it is a great opportunity if we take it. And when I say we, World Rugby, to drive the opportunity to create a global season, start again and get it right. And if we do that, then there'll be opportunities to play more games. The All Blacks playing Pacifica teams more often. Australia doing the same thing. South Africa bring a team into a super competition. Don't know. And back in the day, they said Super started with Fiji and in it, Super 6 it's called. Do we go back to those days? So we've got plenty of opportunity at the moment, I think, out of some adversity in the coronavirus, not allowing us to play, to sit down and take the time to rethink a few things and say, well, let's be bold, let's be strong here and do something different.
Just going back to 2015, Steve, you touched on it briefly before. The All Blacks became the very first team to win back-to-back Rugby World Cups at the 2015 World Cup. Can you talk a little bit more about what the ingredients were that made all of this possible?
I think a good team culture. I think some wonderful players. I think some good work off the field and how we wanted to set our goals and mentally get ourselves in a headspace, individually and collectively as a group, to take on a challenge. There was guys who were still, I believe that 07 won us the 11 and the 15 World Cup. So the pain of that was still buried deep inside a lot of our players that were still there in 15. And, hunger is what drives you to be successful. Unfortunately, success is a pretty lousy teacher. And, it's one of the challenges is trying to learn while you're winning. And we managed to do that because we still had the 07 hunger and a lot of players' guts. We turned up at 19 with no players that had been through 07. It was interesting and the cheer after the game and against England, and obviously there was a lot of disappointment, and you could finally see that these guys understood what had happened in 07. And 07 was probably even more heightened because of the fact that we hadn't won one since 87. So, but the hunger will be there, and the interesting thing now is what happens for these guys going forward. And I'm really confident with Fozzie and his group that they'll do a fantastic job, and they'll be in the right place come next time the World Cup's being played.
I just want to touch on something really special here, Steve. The All Blacks won this prestigious Laureus Team of the Year award in 2016, and you said this during your acceptance speech. Sport is about winning and losing and learning your lessons as you go. but to be responsible for what we do off the park is just as important. It's been said many times tonight that we play a major part as sports people in changing this planet to be a better place for humans, particularly the little humans that are running around on it. Of all the things you could say on the world stage, why did you choose this message?
Well, I just think that, it's something we as New Zealanders could do better. We could look after our little people better than we do. And I think, you look around the world and, probably every country could do it better too. So it was a pretty big stage. I had a lot of people captured. They couldn't go away. So I had an opportunity to give a message. We take our lives for granted a wee bit, and there's not so many people that have been through the tragedies of world wars and the likes left. Yes, we've had terrorist acts and so forth, and that's changed people's lives. But what we're suffering from at the moment, the planet we live on, and this life we live, isn't one that we can take for granted, because nature or human beings can take it away very quickly if we don't respect it. So, I don't know. I just felt like that was a place to say something, and it wasn't one of those times to talk about sport, but to use sport to talk about something that's bigger than sport.
You've spoken about the importance of mental fortitude, Steve, and work ethic within the team. As a coach, what techniques have you used to ensure players are strong in this area? You've talked about Gilbert and Oka in the team, but what were the techniques that were used?
Well, the model we used was very much making it part of their everyday life. And, when we did our reviews, it was about being honest. It wasn't personal. It was about making us stronger, giving us the opportunity to learn. Even though we were winning, we were still, the inconvenient facts, we could have done some things better. We were very fortunate to have someone like Gilbert, who actually had access to people like Kerry Evans, and they formed a working group away from the team and brought stuff that challenged us. And the coaches' jobs were to implement that mental training within the rugby training side of it, so we could get some reference to it and get some learnings through our training and through our games. And once you start doing that, players, I think, start to understand that it's a very big part of who they are and how they operate, and they get excited by it and start wanting to learn more about it.
We talked about before the 2019 World Cup. You were interviewed after the loss to England, and you said, we've already won 2 World Cups in a row, but what we're trying to do had never been done before. With success comes a little less desperation. Now, we know England played out of their skins, and yet, rightly so, they deserve the win. But if you could go back in time, what would you have done differently to mentally prepare the players better for that game?
Yeah, well, I think, that's the one thing that I probably didn't get right. Didn't put enough pressure on them to understand that each wave is different. But here's England who could have easily beaten us the year before. Referee changed the try, and I think we came off such a wonderful performance against Ireland that we probably mentally slipped 2 or 3% and we were playing an opposition who was so desperate, having come out of a rugby tournament themselves 4 years earlier, where they were, we felt bad, and to be in your own tournament and get knocked out would have been, not even make the quarterfinals, would have been horrific. So they were going to be desperate, and we didn't drive their desperation enough. We talked about what we were doing rather than possibly what they might bring. We could talk about a little bit more about that. But hindsight's a wonderful thing.
In the rugby coaching world, who are some of the coaches you've looked up to?
Well, this might sound a bit corny, but it's true. I look up to all of them. I think, to coach any rugby team takes a massive commitment if you're going to do it properly, because we're responsible for a whole lot of people. We're responsible for, particularly when you look at young kids, how you're going to shape them. And international coaches are, they're responsible for the feelings of a nation in a lot of cases, and how their nation is perceived. So, there's been some great characters, and there's been some wonderful coaches, and I enjoy locking horns with all of them, because it becomes not just a personal challenge, but a national one.
So I'm looking back at your coaching career. You've had some very important decisions when it comes to selecting players, and there must be heaps of them. What was the most difficult selection decision you've ever had to make?
The hardest one is always the one that involves dropping a player, no matter who that player is, because A, you care about them, B, you know that they have a dream to be in the team, and C, you know that you're going to take that off them. And having played in a lot of teams and not being selected, I knew what it was like. You're desperate to be selected, and I understood that feeling. But as I said earlier, we didn't have any preparation. The team came first and individual second, so it was right for the team for someone not to be playing. Then you had to make that decision, but then you had to think about the individual and do it with as much empathy and honesty as you possibly could, and hopefully achieve that. I'd like to think that we did it in a way that was gentle on the person who was confident, but it was always the hardest thing to do.
So, Steve Hansen, at the beginning of the year, you were awarded the Knight Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit for services to rugby. This was your second honour, having previously received the Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit in 2012. When talking about this honour, you said the following: "The honour is not about me, but all those people and about the game. By accepting it, you're acknowledging those things." So looking back at your contribution to rugby, what is the one thing you are most proud of?
The type of person we started to turn out on a regular basis within the All Blacks. From the time I took over, Pierre and Smithy and DJ and myself, I guess, had started that process, and being able to continue that with Fozzie and Connor and Shandy and Gilbert, it was really satisfying. And these guys are under a tremendous amount of pressure, scrutiny. They get well paid, yet they're still only young men. And if we look at society's young men, they make a lot of mistakes. Our team is a snapshot of that. So we're going to have people that don't get it right all the time, but helping them overcome that and become better people, which was something that Sir Brian Lahore said, better people make better rugby players. So in our own wee way, I think, as a coaching group, as a management group, we strive to do that, and that's the thing. Maybe one of them that we made a little better, was a wee feeling of, well, that's a job well done. And to me, that's what coaching is about. The sporting part of it is great, but you use the sport to make the character better. And I say that about myself too. Sports really helped me become a better person, along with my wife and my family. So being very, very fortunate to have the opportunities I've had.
Touching on your family, your whānau and that, you've been a professional rugby coach since '96, which means you spent a lot of time away from home around the world. But you haven't done this alone, mate. So your wife, Tash, your parents, your children, and the wider family have supported you during those times. How much does that mean to you?
Oh, it's awesome, and I was honoured with a leadership award a few years ago, and really that award should have gone to Tash because she's the person who's leading the family because you're away that often, and she's the person who's also having to support me when things aren't going great. And the people that are involved in the team have got the easy job, really. It's the families and the partners and wives and husbands who are left holding the burning candle at home. They're the ones that deserve all the credit because they're sort of doing something on their own, but not being seen to be on their own, if that makes sense. So I couldn't have been involved in rugby for as long as I have been without the support of Tash and my family.
Finally, on a serious note, Steve, all rugby, as we know, has been suspended and the world's been turned upside down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We've already talked about the importance of mental fortitude, determination and teamwork. What message would you like to send to Kiwis during this tough time?
Well, look, there's been a lot of talk about being, be kind, and for me, that's something that we should be all the time. Shouldn't need a pandemic for it to be like that. But the message I would give is, it will get better. We don't only have a pandemic to deal with; we're going to have a recession to deal with as well, and that's going to be tough. But if we stick together and we ask for help when we need it, and we're not good at that, particularly New Zealand men. So it's one thing to say to be mentally tough, but it's another thing to be vulnerable. And I think if we can be vulnerable when we need to be, and be kind all the time, and care about one another, then we'll get through what is a dark cloud at the moment. And yes, the virus is going to go away. There'll be repercussions of the virus, and yes, they'll go away. But in the meantime, we just have to make sure that if we need help, put your hand up, and don't you're not fighting it by yourself. You've got people that love you. You've got people that care about you and want you to be happy and safe. So don't isolate yourself.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Hey, it's been an awesome podcast season. We really appreciate you sharing all your insights and things. But we got a bit of a challenge for you, though, just to finish it off, mate. No pressure, just to let you know. No one's won it. No one's won it yet.
Yeah.
It's pick up the pace challenge. So it's 10 seconds. Yeah. One question, 9 answers.
One question, 9 different answers.
That's it. Yep. One question, 9 different answers in 10 seconds. So let me just bring up my my stopwatch. Okay. You do the counting, bro, and I'll do the timing. All right.
Yep. Okay.
You ready, Steve?
Yep.
Here we go. So Steve Hansen from Canterbury Christchurch. Name for me in 10 seconds 9 current or former international coaches. Go.
Steve Hansen, Graham Henry, Bob Duff, Brian Lahore, Laurie Mains, John Hart, Eddie Jones, Michael Chipper.
Ooh.
It's 10 seconds. What's the number there, Honorary? Are you counting them up?
We've got 8.
8
coaches, 1 short.
Just pulled up a little bit short there, Steve. Never mind.
Yeah, well, how do I go against everybody else?
To be honest, you've done the best so far.
Yeah, that's all right.
Carlton Allen had a go last week. He got 7. So he only got the crayfish leagues, unfortunately.
I should have said 1. I can't believe it didn't take Smithy.
He'll be hitting you up about it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up, thank you so much, Steve, for joining us on our podcast. It's been an honour for us to interview you, and it's been great and interesting just to get an insight on your career. So all the best during this tough time. Take care.
It's a pleasure. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Steve.